Welcome to March's Fourth Friday Story Hour, the final season. We're getting through it. Just a few more episodes and then that's it. You can go back on YouTube and watch all of them over and over again for the next 10, 15, 20 years if you feel like it. We're not going to take anything off. We haven't taken anything off that's on there already. So you can go back as far back as 2015 when we started putting things on there and watching all sorts of stuff that we have. In the meantime, tonight, we have something for you that you're definitely gonna like. Trust me when I tell you, we're doing a couple things a little bit different, so you'll see some different scenarios as it goes along. But just hang out for a minute, go get your batteries. The fastest, coolest story hour you'll ever see. DJ, where my theme music? Hey, welcome back. Happy hour, story hour, all that kind of stuff. We got a breakfast, snack, and all that kind of good thing to get started. Let's get this going here real quick here. This lady bringing up to the stage is one of the coolest people I know. She's always got some pretty good jokes when she tells stuff. I've known her for a good little while. She's performed for us in a bunch of concerts, and she's always doing something really and brings something always to the table. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Cheryl Oden.
Thank you, Tone. I am so excited to be here today as we wind up this series, this segment that Mr. Tone Ross created, he and his staff. But I am excited about being here primarily because I get a chance to tell some personal stories. I know those best. I haven't had an opportunity to tell many of them because people really want stories, like out of a book. But this time around, this is my show. I've got a 15 to 17 minute one-woman show. Before we get started, there's two parameters I want to set. One, I'm over 70 years old. I'm changing by the second. I hope I can make it through these 17 minutes without having to find something or someone to help me. I'm working hard, losing weight, got some Ozempic, and I'm coming along. I've lost 50 pounds, I'm happy to say, and for the most part, it's been a good experience. Having left that, let me tell you also about the fact that there's two things that I may do. You're gonna see me do this. Now, when I do this hand motion, that means that means that I'm going to transition to another story. In addition to that, I may do this motion, which is this. Give me a minute. Sometimes when I tell personal stories, things get a hold of me. You may see a tear fall. Luckily, I've got a special handkerchief my mother gave me when I was 14 years old. And I still have it, and I'm over 70 years old. Okay, so if I do that, I'm saying to you, give me a minute. Give me some understanding, give me some grace, because I'm going through something as I tell that particular story. The first story that I'm going to tell is about my dad. I had a very special relationship with him. He had a way of looking at you, of just laying his hand on you, on your shoulder, on your leg, and somehow or another it steadied you. He was a good man. He was from a town called Bastrop, Louisiana. The soul of someone very, very kind and loving, special, and he was the father of 9 children. It was a lot of us, but they knew how to handle us, my mom and my dad. I didn't know my mom very much. I didn't let her in. And she didn't try to get in. She didn't talk much, very rarely. And sometimes you just hear her moan a little bit, or you'd hear her singing in the distance. But very, 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 very good singer. She reminded me of a singer called Mahalia Jackson. She had power in her voice. I don't quite have that, but I have some of her traits. So as we go on in this story, there was something about my dad. He could make something special, and it was just something small. Something that he did for me that changed my life is he encouraged me to go to college. I was the first in the family to go, and my father had a way of letting me know that I was on the right track. Few words, but lots of love. I went to Oakland University. My dad would come up, everyone knew him, and they'd be across campus and they'd say, "Your dad's here." And I'd run across campus. I couldn't wait to see him because I had to get the time I could get. There were 9 of us. But he would drive up by himself, didn't bring anybody with him, he'd just show up. Because I think he was concerned about me, but he knew I would be okay. I wrote a story about him. It's called "Now I Know Why I Like to Sit on Benches." Because he and I sat on benches and talked about everything. And he always brought me something, a carton of yogurt, a soda, something that was favorite and unique to me. And he would bring that for me. And we'd sit on the bench outside my dorm, and we'd talk and we'd laugh. And I'd look at him. He had something wonderful about the way he talked, the tone. You never would know that he'd never graduated from school. He had never gone to school. His dad was a sharecropper, but he wasn't able to work. He had injuries. So my dad became the dad. He made the major decisions in the home. I always felt like he got robbed, but he took it in stride. He felt it was a badge of honor to be able to see his sisters and brothers through to their dreams. And so before migrating to Detroit, he made a decision that he was going to bring 2 of his sisters with him and later bring the rest of the family. So back to the story. We are at Oakland University, we're sitting on benches, we're talking, we're feeling good, and all of a sudden I could get a whiff of his pipe. And he used the tobacco number 79. Boy, whenever I see that or smell it, it brings him back full force. For a lot of years I kept a pouch of mixture number 79. Wherever I was, the mixture was there. I finally did let it go. I guess I grew up a little bit. Dad had been coming up there for all of the first 3 years of my time at Oakland. But something was wrong. The last time he came up, I watched him. I looked at him and something was off. We laughed, and he said, "Babe, I'm gonna have to go now." And I said, "Dad, you just got here." "No, I've got some other things to do." And so he hugged me and he walked off. And I watched him, and he kept looking back at me. He never did that before. It's the last time I saw my dad alive. Thank you. The next story that I'd like to tell you has to do with my family as well. My sister and I, as I told you, there were 9 of us. My sister and I shared a bed. We had a a full-size bed, and then there was a set of bunk beds next to, in the same room, and my other two sisters were in those beds. Well, each day we had to get up, we had to make our beds, and we had to make sure to get downstairs on time. Everything, my dad set everything up, we knew what we had to do. Well, I couldn't leave until my sister, who slept in the bed with me, left first. And I'd wait around, acting like I was doing something, but I was actually waiting for her to leave. Because there was a family quilt on that bed, and there was a piece of white silk, and I couldn't leave that room until I turned the blanket and it was on my side of the bed. Well, I found out many years later that my sister was doing the same thing. She was going up in the middle of the day, and if it wasn't on her side, she was turning it. I tell you that that blanket, that quilt, which meant so much to everybody in that household, is still around. And we have found a way to move it between the family. Imagine that we could sell a quilt with a special spot on it that would encourage you to turn it left, turn it right, whatever was best for you. And we put that quilt in a beautiful package, and it would have writing on it and an opportunity for you to write in about your experience growing up. And that's an idea that I have of something I'd like to do, that I'd like to actually look at the people I know and get somebody to help me make that a reality. The talking quilt. I'd like to also, on my limited time, share with you as much as I can about our experience growing up in Detroit, finding out that it was not always a safe place, but it also could be a funny place. We had all kinds of taboos, and one of the taboos is that you didn't go up on Grand River without letting somebody know you were going up there. Because there was a man who would show up. He could come in out of the alley, he could come around a corner, but we were afraid of him. We never said anything to each other, but it did have a lot to do with how we lived our lives. We're cautious. We're not sure to let people in. We watch and we wait, and we finally make the decision to let us know that this person is okay. We played on the playground all day long as we could get there. Swing, play 4 squares, whatever we could do to be together, because that's what we were taught. So close to where we were, in the neighborhood I was raised in, Grand River, Scotton, Warren was an area that we all knew very well. So my sisters and brothers, often we'd get together and we'd walk up West Grand Boulevard. We'd walk together, we stayed together. When we got to Warren and West Grand Boulevard, there was a church there. It was rarely open, so we never got to go inside. But on Warren and West Grand Boulevard was Swanson's funeral home. What in the world? We went in there and we saw a baby in a casket. That was a hard one. And we had to figure out, why was that baby in that casket? What happened to her? And it was just sort of folklore within our family, making some decisions about what was best for us. The funeral director came over and said, "You shouldn't be here. I see you guys coming in, but you're not to continue coming in here. This is for the families." And we said, okay. Well, we went across to the next corner, and what was there? but the Charles Wright Museum, where it began. And Dr. Wright would allow us to come in on certain days, certain times. They weren't always open, but he was putting together the beginnings of the phenomenal. He was a kind man. He was very tall. There was something about him that reminded me of my dad. I wonder if he was from the South. We all wondered about who he really was. And I get a chance to go up into the Charles Wright, often in the, excuse me, when I go up into the Charles Wright, up into their, go into the Charles Wright up on the second floor and go into the conference room. In the conference room were pictures of Dr. Wright and others. But the last time I was there, his picture wasn't up. There were all kinds of screens up, and I felt that maybe they'd made a mistake. But they didn't. Progress, I guess. I will say this, that the experience of working with the staff of DABS and my sisters and brothers there, what a wonderful experience it has been. I thought when I retired I'd be sitting in a corner crying, but I haven't. I've learned, I've pushed myself, I've looked for other opportunities to learn more about the art of storytelling. The stories that we tell, the form in which we do it is all individualized. I do it my way, he does it his way, she does it her way, and we come together and we make beautiful, beautiful opportunities for them to learn about their culture and about the life that they can live if they're willing to follow the rules that have been given to them. Finally, I'll close with the final story. And it is the story that I call Quickie Donuts. It's a favorite story of mine because it says so much about the times that I grew up in, and also it says a whole lot about what people are like. I got permission from my dad to go downtown by myself, no sisters, no brothers, and finally I get on the bus, Grand River bus, I go downtown by myself, and I decide that I'm going to do one first thing. I'm going to have a Quickie donut. Lemon was my favorite. Lemon filled with a swash of icing on top and a glass of cold milk. I couldn't wait to get there. And there I was at Quickie Donuts, getting my favorite donut, and boy, it exceeded every expectation. And I'm still a donut girl today. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this time with you. And as we move forward, when you see the name Miss O, that'll be me. Thanks so much.
Give it up for Miss O. I forgot to tell y'all, that's what we all call her, Miss O. So let's go back a little bit. So Detroit, born and raised?
Yes.
I've been here all your life,
All
doing
my
all kind of stuff, and you didn't bring me Quickie Donuts. I'm a little upset about that, just so you know. Because
Okay.
I figured that's your thing, you were gonna bring some donuts. No? Okay, next time. We'll work
Next
on it
time.
So how's it been going? How you doing?
Well, very well.
Tell
No
us-
major
tell us-
upsets.
Tell us what you've been doing.
Writing stories. I'm working with a group of young men at Share House, and I'm teaching them the art of storytelling. And I hope that they will, what we're testing in this project is whether or not the impact of telling their stories helps them to deal with their addiction. And I know that we're seeing just in how they change, how they dress, how they speak, their expectations are all changing. So it's a wonderful experience.
Years ago, I did some things with Share House, matter of fact. Their sports program
Oh, yeah.
got started, and my partners and I, we kind of went over there they started a basketball league. And so we were the ones that came over and did repping for it. And then we kind of helped them put it together and that kind of deal. And believe it or not, and what they did was all the other rehabilitation centers would all come to their gym.
Yes.
That's where the games were at. And then they would have the games and that kind of deal. So I really know about that.
Well, I was
Way
looking at you and didn't know you.
Way back, way back. Oh my goodness, probably late 90s, somewhere around in there. Probably late 90s, we were back over there. Yeah, I'm glad they're still doing good. So I ran into a guy who was kind of over a few years ago. He's not there anymore, but I ran into him and he said they were still going, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
So it's a good thing. What up? Storytelling.
Yeah.
What you been doing? Tell us some stories. What you been doing?
Actually, the last time I actually told a story was for Juneteenth at Share House. And so they were out on the lawn. It was like a big picnic. I told stories, and I really concentrated on Opal Lee. Do you know Opal? Have you heard of her? Okay, so Opal Lee is called the grandmother of Juneteenth. And Opal Lee walked as much as she could to support what was going on with Juneteenth. It hadn't been made an official holiday, but each state was doing something. And so Opal Lee went to Washington, met with Biden, and the official order that made Juneteenth a federal holiday was signed. So that was wonderful, and to be able to impart that information to the community, and it was well attended. There were about 400 people there. So it was a wonderful event, and I would ask you to go to the Share House website so that you can see and come and see some of the things that they're doing.
Good.
They'd love to see you.
Good. As a matter of fact, we might work on something and get them to tell some stories for us. Like where they can get going, that kind of deal, and get their story out. Yeah, that's a good project to work on. Because we got a guy now that's trying to take all the black stories away and all the black history away and all anything they got to do with black people, that kind of deal. But we're going to keep it going anyway.
Yeah.
Like we been saying the whole month of February, we don't need you to celebrate black history. We've been doing that on our own anyway.
That's right.
So you don't want to acknowledge it, that's on you. But we still going to do black history, whether you like it or not.
That's right. Because black history is American.
It's 365 every day. Then people don't get that. It's 365. So let's talk about a couple other things here. So, Dad, Mrs. 79. My dad smoked that stuff forever.
No.
White packets, the white can. I still have the white can. I still got the white cans he has in my house. He would take the cans and put nails in them and all those different screws and all that kind of stuff. That's how much he smoked them. And then that kind of deal. Smoked it all the time and then downstairs. He wouldn't smoke upstairs with my mom, but he would smoke in the basement, the family room in the basement. We had family. So that kind of deal. But yeah, that's it. I know about that and the white packets and stuff and all that.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
It was so bad. We had a dog back then, and my dog watched him so much and sit on the recliner that one day we came down there, the dog had the pipe in his mouth, was sitting there looking at the television.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, that took me back listening to that. I was like, oh, Dad smoked that.
That's what storytelling's about.
Yeah,
it brings you into the story.
And that was the thing every black person smoked at that time when they smoked the pipe. That was the thing. They made a mint.
Wow.
Makes you make a mint off of that. Yes, they did. So that kind of deal. So there was something else I wanted to tell you about, but I forgot because you're from Detroit. You lived on that side of town, which is okay. You know, Swanson's funeral homes. I don't want up in there. And that's
we were like the little rascals.
Yeah,
we were just checking out what we were checking out.
That's what you get, going in the doggone funeral home. That's what you get. Scared you to death, didn't you? That's right. Ran out of there yelling and screaming. You know, people in the funeral home, Swanson probably sitting there going like, really? Some that kind of deal. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Okay.
So they can tell you, come tell some stories and make people laugh and get some history and all that kind of deal.
Okay, well, I have a phone number that you can call. I'd love to speak with you and share some information with you. I call myself a resource depository. I know a lot about a lot of things. I don't know a lot about everything, but about a lot of things. You can contact me at 248-979-2236.
There you go. No email? No send you an email?
Email C Olden, OLDEN 313 at AOL.com.
And when you do email her or call her, as I was told years ago, my name is Miss O, and that's how you'll address me. So Miss O, I was told that years ago. I forgot. Give it up for everybody. Miss O, hang out for a minute. We'll be right back. We have a thing. One of our members writes books. This is Stories by Mary. So check this out. We'll be right back.
Don't just read your children ordinary storybooks. Instead, read them a series of 5 that truly come alive. This episode is sponsored by Stories by Mary. Stories by Mary speaks to early listeners all the way to age 12. These best-selling 5 diverse storybooks about May have inspired and encouraged children to create and explore an interest in literacy. Be sure to visit storiesbymjgrant.com or give Mary a call, 313-622-4315 to place your order today. 313-622-4315. Tell her DABS 4th Friday sent you right there.
Hey, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that. If you want to buy some books, Stories by Mary, do contact us and we'll go from there and get you make sure in contact with us so you can buy some books from her. In the meantime, let's get to the next storyteller. This storyteller, I tell you, is something else. She has come a long way. The song says start at the bottom, now you're at the top. She's at the top now. She's doing her thing. Boy, you'll love her what she does. Let's give it up for Leah Biggs.
Hello, everybody, and I am so glad to be here, and I thank Tone for those kind words. My first story selection is a historical selection, and it is entitled, We Mean Business. Hi, I'm Sarah Collier, and I would like to ask you a question. Have you ever been sick? I mean sick and tired of being sick and tired. Have you ever gotten to a point where enough is enough? Have you ever had it up to here and said to yourself, I'm not going to take anymore? On July 19, 1881, I came to that point in my life. And I joined 19 other women who shared the same idea. We had gotten to the point that we were sick and tired of being sick and tired. So we joined forces together and formed the Washing Women Society of Atlanta, Georgia. Now, we weren't wealthy, we weren't educated, we weren't politically connected, but just under 2 decades prior to, we had been enslaved, working menial jobs on the plantation, being paid nothing for our services. So we joined together and we decided that we were going to change our plight in life. We were going to work to make our lives better, the lives of our children, the lives of our family. So we did what we knew how to do best. We formed the Women's Washing Society, and we went to the wealthy white homes, the middle-class white homes, and we even had some poor white clients. And we contracted with them to take care of their laundry. Now, laundry work was considered dirty, backbreaking, strenuous work, and nobody wanted to do it. So we did the job that no one ever wanted to do. And this is how our day started. We would get up at the crack of dawn, and we would walk 1 to 2 miles to our client's home. We would gather together their dirty laundry, their soiled diapers, dirty clothing, their dirty linen, and we would wrap them up together. We would put them on our heads, and then we would trek back to our workspace. Perhaps if it had rained, it would be muddy, and we would tread back to our workspace, to the outskirts of town. And our first task was to sort the clothes. Sort the clothes into 2 separate piles, the dark clothing pile and the light clothing pile. And after that, that's when the work really began. Now keep in mind, in those days, there was no indoor plumbing, there were no washing machines, there were no dryers. So everything had to be done manually. We went to the pump, and we had to pump water into a bucket. Then we had to carry the water over to a pile where we had to make fire. And once that fire became good and hot, we would take that bucket and we would set it on the fire until it began to boil. In the meantime, we had to make soap and we had to make starch from scratch. And so, once the water was heated, we would take the clothes and we would put them in the boiling water. Then we got this large paddle, and we would put the clothing in the soapy water. And then we would start beating the clothes. And then some of the clothing we took and we rubbed it back and forth on the washing boards, to the point that we created calluses and corns on our hands. And after we were sure that the clothing had gotten clean, what we did was we would have to put the clothing through a wringer. It was a hand-cranked wringer, and we would put the clothing through to get out the excess water, and then we would hang the clothing on the clothing line to dry. Once the clothing was dry, we had to take these big, heavy irons, and then we had to iron the clothes until there were no wrinkles. And we fold them up nice and neat, and then we would take them back to the families, to our clients. And when we got ready to get paid, sometimes there were people who refused to pay us for our services. And then there were others who said, I'm not going to pay you what I said. I'm going to give you half of what I agreed to pay you. And after being treated like this, numerous times. These women got together and they decided no more. We are going to join forces and we are going to demand that people respect our work and give us a wage of $1 for every 12 pounds of laundry we do. In addition to that, we want uniform wages, no longer one person being paid a certain amount and then someone else being paid a different amount for the same work. And they wanted autonomy over their work schedule, and they wanted, most of all, respect for the work that they did. So these women decided that they would contact churches and they would get together with the pastors so that the pastors could allow them a meeting space where they could meet nightly with other domestic workers. Then they began to canvass neighborhoods and their community, their families, and they said, let's stop working. We're going to go on strike. And we are not going to do another piece of laundry until they meet our demands. And so every day they would gather more and more workers. Now keep in mind, this was a very successful movement because they started off with 20 women, and in 3 weeks their numbers had swelled to 3,000. And they would held their services. These women were aggressive, and they would not allow people to break the strike. And they would use intimidating language to convince them. So, but the business establishment, as well as the politicians, decided, this ain't gonna happen. We're gonna force these women back to work. So what they did is they raised their rents. And they tried other intimidating tactics. They threatened to put their husbands out of work. But that didn't faze these women. They still kept on going. And then the establishment said, I know what we're going to do. We're going to start charging them an annual license fee of $25 a month to wash clothing. And, you know, when you look at it, $25 a month was more than they made. But they still stood firm and stood their ground. And then they said, you know what, we're going to create a new steam laundry. And we're going to get 50 to 100 Yankee girls who know the business to run it. And this laundry is going to be so large until it will be able to accommodate all of the laundry of the people in Atlanta. And on top of that, we can do it at cheaper prices than we can pay these washerwomen. And on top of that, they provided tax incentives. But that did not faze these laundry workers. And then they said, okay, and they decided to identify the most prominent leaders, and those leaders were Sally Bell, Dora Jones, Carrie Jones, Ophelia Turner, and Matilda Crawford, as well as myself. And they fined those individuals $5. And they paid it. We paid it. But they paid it. But I didn't. I held my ground. So they sentenced me 20 days on the chain gang, which I served. We sent a letter to the mayor of Atlanta, and this is what we said. We the members of our society are determined to stand to our pledge and make extra charges for washing and are willing to pay $25 for a license as a protection, and we will do it before we will be defeated. We mean business. And then the cooks, the nurses, as well as the maids started performing work stoppages. And they decided that they were going to demand higher wages. And because of that, them standing together and unified, the status quo gave in and allowed the washerwomen autonomy over their schedule and paid them a uniform wage. And they were able to defeat the system and in turn encourage others to take a stand against unjust practices. Now, my second story is called Back in the Day, and it's a personal story. Back in the day, when Burger King said you could have it your way. Back in the day where at 8:00 p.m. on Tuesday, you would find me glued to the television set, watching Good Times, and hearing J.J. Evans say, "Dynamite." And at 12:00 noon on Saturday afternoon, my eyes would be glued to Channel 15, listening to the Soul Train and watching the young people of Chicago dance. Back in the day. Now, back in the day, I was 90 pounds. I wore a size 3 junior petite. I had naturally blonde hair, green eyes that would turn to gray, that would turn to blue, that would turn to blonde. Now, don't ask what happened. But I would always make sure, I was a college student at Wayne State University, and I would always make sure that I looked my best as I left the house and went to school. I would put on my heels, and I would put on a nice dress and sling my tote bag over my shoulder, because who knew this might be the day that I would meet Mr. Right. So this particular day, I washed, I dressed, I put on a sleeveless sheer dress with black background and figures going all through it. And I looked at myself in the mirror. My hair was in place. Oh, that dress looked so nice. And I slung my tote bag over my shoulder and I walked out the house, walked half a block down the street, turned left, and start on the main street. And I noticed everybody was looking at me in the cars. And I was saying, whoa, I must really have it going on. And I continued to walk past the gas station, and again, everybody was looking at me. And I'm like, this dress must look better than I thought. And then I crossed the street, and as soon as I got across the street, the Grand Belt came. And I mounted those stairs, just know I was looking good. Everybody on the bus was staring at me. And finally, a man said, lady, pull your dress down. Unbeknownst to me, my dress had risen up because of the friction of the tote bag almost to my hips. And I was so embarrassed. I tugged my dress down, I went to my seat, and I wanted to hide my head in my tote bag. But then I thought, everybody has embarrassing moments. And anytime you have an embarrassing moment, what you need to do is follow the words of Eddie Kennedy. Just keep on trucking. And that's exactly what I did.
Hey, welcome in. I tell you, look at look at you. Dress walking around. I thought with a book.
Yes. No, how embarrassing.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, I couldn't stop laughing. Anyway, so how goes it?
It goes well. Like I said, I'm still doing research for different kinds of stories, some of them historical, and then looking into my life where I have, ran into complete strangers that were a blessing to me, that watched out for me, that perhaps even kept me out of danger. So I would like to turn those into stories because I don't think that's something that is done very much now. It's like every man is out for himself. Yeah.
Yeah, it is these days.
Mm-hmm.
Pecking order, that kind of deal. The fish in the barrel, that scenario, that whole thing. So that first story, pretty powerful there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We think about the history of African American women and how little those women had, but they were willing to give it all up so that they could better things for themselves as well as better things for the ones that came behind them. And they had to be courageous, they had to be brave, because these were powerful people that they stood against.
When you first started it, and about a quarter way in, I'm like, did you do this? And I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm like, hold on a second. She's telling the story up, and I didn't kind of catch myself. Because at first I was like, oh, really? You was out there doing that? I didn't
No, it wasn't me.
Yeah, but it took a minute because you got so into it, and I got so into it, I was like, wow, yeah, that's deep.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I said, okay, wait a minute, she's telling the story. Slow down a minute. But that's a hell of a story, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. That's how it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know it, especially the younger generation. They think that never took place. It's like, oh, yeah, it did.
It's
They
recorded.
thought the washing dryer was always here from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Even though a black person invented the washer and dryer, which people don't know, and they don't get that. That's why you gotta I always tell my race all the time, especially young people now and all kids, you gotta know our history so they know where you came from and what's what.
Mm-hmm.
Stop listening and talking about, oh, we don't want to hear that. That's old stuff. No, that stuff you need to know about. So that kind of deal. What else you been doing?
Oh, I been relaxing, and I did go back to work, to the teaching profession. And it's been an interesting experience because I have found the last time I worked was 2013, 2017 in the school system. So there have been many changes. There have been a whole lot of changes.
It's way different.
It's much different than it was in the past.
My youngest came out in 20,
Mm-hmm.
and just these 5 years, I've noticed how much has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going like, it's 5 years, But then my middle kid, between now and the last one here, there was a big difference there, that kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I constantly going like, okay guys, what are we actually doing now? So I know you had to go back and figure that out. It's like, okay,
Right.
what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
It's not how it goes. It's how it's not supposed to.
But you know what? I'm glad that I went to see the differences. And then too, you need, to have challenges in your life so that your mind doesn't become, doesn't go to sleep, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah, so that you can stay connected and that you can, I can learn how to do that. I thought I was too old. And it's not the fact that you're too old, but you're able to learn and to comprehend. Yes.
What gets me the most now with the schools now is English is not required.
Yes.
Okay, so then how you gonna be able to write, tell, explain yourself, that kind of thing. And then
Penmanship is not required.
cursive writing.
Yes.
I'm like, what do you mean cursive writing look like? Are you serious?
Yes.
I'm like, you got on that cursive writing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's not a requirement now. And now they're trying to make it where basic math is not required.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so we're just not gonna know how to count money. That's about as basic as you can get. And that's just kind of the school system now. Like, and it's just not amongst black people, it's everybody.
Right.
And like, you gotta be kidding me, right? You know, how you not gonna be able to count your money? How you not know 2 plus 2 is 4? How you not know that? So it's just kind of different, that kind of thing.
Innovation is good, but you still need the basics.
Right.
Mhm.
We need to do that. But the big things like English is not required.
Yes.
Right? So we all just gonna sit in the sign language, use hand motions to tell what's what. Or we gonna get on our phones and use emojis to explain what we're doing and tell what we're going on. So it's kind of like we guys are lost behind. So that's good though. So you're doing some storytelling, you're running around and doing your thing, teaching school. I feel it.
All right.
I feel it.
All right.
That's the one job I said, can't do. You ain't paying. Gotta pay me. When teachers always go on strike, I was gonna pay them $100,000. I said, they deserve it, easy. And then people don't want to pay them. Like, you understand they're with your kids all day long? Not just the good ones, your bad little kids too. So that kind of thing. I always said, you gotta pay.
Say challenging kids.
Yeah, you gotta, these kids bad. And I was like, you gotta bail. Come on, y'all, they teaching your kids. What more can you get out of it? So that kind of thing. That's good. So tell
Very
everybody.
much into church work too.
Yeah, there you go.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Serving, particularly in areas of bereavement, encouraging families through the ministry of ushers.
Yeah, bereavement. I can do it. Not my forte. You gotta know your lane. That's not my lane. I feel for you. Sorry for you. Sorry for the loss, but you lose some encouraging words for me. I feel just as bad as you do. So I don't have it. I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. I'm with you, man. So I just like, man, that's it. So good. Tell everybody how to get in contact with you to do some storytelling.
You may contact me at my email address, Leah, Leah, _Rich, RICH, @msn.com.
There you go. I'm telling
That's
you.
it.
I'm telling you. Hey, look here. Give it up for Leah Rich. I told you she was coming. She's here.
Yeah.
She's on top now. So hang on. We'll be right back. Check it out. We're going to get a storyteller. Be right back. Come on, Leah.
Oh, that was on here?
Yeah. Stories. What are stories?
Stories are simply something that happens every day.
Stories could have come from the past.
Stories could be happening right now.
Stories can be past, present, and future.
Stories can be happy.
Stories could be sad. Stories. Just what are stories?
Stories are simply something that happens.
Stories can be good. Stories can be bad too.
Stories could be happy.
Stories. Just what are stories?
Stories could be happening right now.
Stories can be past, present, and future.
Stories can be true, like all of my stories.
Or stories could be made up.
Stories are something that simply happens.
Stories could be happening right now.
But the most important thing about
Stories must be told.
Hello, we are the Detroit Association of Black Storytellers, also known as DABS. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We offer many services, including storytelling, workshops, group facilitation. We host events. We perform at churches, schools, senior centers, and senior living facilities, birthday parties, family reunions, and even business conferences. We tell stories for all ages. Whether your event is large or small, we can accommodate it all. Contact us today to discuss how we can help make your event memorable. Call us at 313-442-3227 or visit our website, DetroitStorytellers.com. If you'd like to see us in action, check out our YouTube channel, Detroit Association of Black Storytellers. And remember, just a little DABS will make your event spectacular.
The most important thing about stories.
Stories must be told.
Hey, well, that's our show for today. Hope this is the fastest hour with the story hour and happy hour all combined in one. Hope you had some good snacks and good drinks to go along with it. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next month. We've got 3 amazing ladies going to come along and do their thing. In the meantime, I want to thank Leah Rich for coming on doing her show, her set, along with Miss O, and she did her thing. Listen, if you want to get a hold of us, just stay on here and you'll see something how to get a hold of us every time. And our email, DetroitAbs@gmail.com. If you want to become a storyteller, it's easy. Everybody who tells a story, say when you on the phone telling somebody something about what happened, that's a story. So everybody's a storyteller. Other than that, we hope you have a good month. Women's History Month is March, as you know, towards the end of it. But I hope you got some history about some women have done some phenomenal things, especially black women, because we've done every day. Black history is 365 all the time, not just in February, in Women's Month in March. See you next month. Until next time.